So this is my grizzly bandsaw my brother gave me. He's not using it anymore. It was sitting around. He's moving. Had to get rid of it. I got it. Very happy about that. That is the hokie temporary stand I built to hold it. Hokie. Hokie's putting it mildly. It was built real quick. The original stock stand is just too tall for me. It ends up bringing the whole bed and table saw way too high for me. So I built this stupid quick out of just scrap pile of stuff, like just grabbing stuff and setting it up and dropping it together and figuring out how high I want it. It's terrible. It's so understructured and so poorly made. It's just screwed together. I just kept adding stuff until it was holding the bandsaw. Anyway, today we're going to replace it. I did find I like the height, its current height. It works pretty well. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a newer one. But again, we're going to try and use just stuff I have laying around because I'm broke. So to start with, I found this piece of 3/4 inch plywood. It's old construction grade. We'll clean it up a little and make it look a little better. But I'm going to make the actual legs out of 2x4s. I have some leftover scrap, I don't know, 3 or 4 foot scrap pressure treated 2x4s. We'll clean them up, straighten them up, and use those for the legs and maybe some other structure because I have more. Now, I don't really have any plans. I'm kind of winging it, but the general idea is I'm going to take 2x4s and clean them up, stitch them together, glue them together, screw them together, and then mount the 2 wheels on it. I'm also thinking I'm going to take that plywood and dado it into the joint between the 2x4s. Instead of trying to sit it on top, I'm going to dado the plywood in to make it a little stronger of a connection. So I'm going to measure up the plywood, figure out how tall it is, figure out how tall the 2x4 is, how much I need to inset it, including the wheel height, so I can get an approximate height of what I have now for that bandsaw's little hokey thing you see in the background. I do like the height. It could go up or down an inch. It won't matter to me, but I want to get it very close. So let's clean up some boards. Alright, that squares this up pretty nicely. Gets rid of the rounded edges, flattens it out. Now I like the length of this right here already. It's a pretty good size. I might go an inch longer, but it really doesn't need to. So 22, I'm going to go 23, maybe even 24. Let's go 24. So you bring them over to the sliding miter box and cut the end off so I have a nice square edge to start with and pull my measurements. And let's get a length. Let's do 24. So I mark out a measurement, make a square edge, bring it over to the miter box, and there's a leg. One thing I'm going to do is set the grain. I don't know if it should go this way or the other way. I don't think it really matters as long as they oppose each other. I imagine it's going to curl a little bit, but when I screw it all together, it should hold it. I don't think I'm going to... I'll apply glue. I don't know if the glue will hold to the pressure treated or not. We'll find out. And there's a big helicopter coming. So if I haven't mentioned this, I'm kind of winging it. I really don't have a plan of any real sort. Just build a stand with what I got. The plywood is about 14 or 16, I think it's 16 inches wide, 14 inches wide. It's about 14 and a half inches wide. I'm going to cut it into 12-inch thick legs. So first off, I cut off the end and get rid of any crap, soaked, rotten ends. And then I'm going to cut it into about 12-inch wide strips. Just 2 of them. That's all I need. Should work just fine. And there you have it. Alrighty, as I said before, I think the plan is to set these in here, like so. And dado it in, finger jointed in, however you want to call it. Make it inset. And drop on in there. Which will look nice. But I think I'm going to give this a quick sanding first. So after sanding, this old plywood actually came out pretty nice. I mean, it's still construction grade plywood, but to be honest, I think my father used to use this piece as part of a ramp that he used to take his tractor and put into the van. But yeah, it'll work. Alright, let's lay this out. They are a foot. These are 2 foot. Now I actually want it a little to the front. So I go 6 and 6. That's dead center. But I actually want the front like 3 or 4. If I go 4, 16, that gives me 8 out the back. That's where the motor hangs back and offsets it. Plus the saw will be, centered on the 1 foot, so it'll be shifted. But that gives me room for my toes. I can stand closer to the saw, but the weight's out back, it won't tip over. That's my theory. So, right here. I want to dado out 2 inches. Oops. My pencil slipped. Right there. So I want to take this out. And I need to take out about 3/8. So I guess I got to router it out, because I don't have anything else that'll do it. I could do it on the CNC. It's actually not a bad idea. It would take me a minute to lay it out and plan it, but it would almost be easier and more accurate. What do you think? So after deciding I'm going to actually use the CNC, set everything up, designed it to cut the 2 boards together, the facing pieces, so it's 1 run, and changed the bit out and leveled her up. Spin up the spindle. Fire up the vacuum. So here I just let the CNC do its thing. It's pretty simple. Took about, 10 or 15 minutes. My little Alma head fell off. So I had to put it on the board and let it wiggle around in the vibrations. Alright, let's see how good they came out. If I did all my measurements right, that should be a good slot for that 2x, or that plywood. Let's go find out. No, it fits. Fits pretty darn good. So let's cut another one. What's our final height here? 16. Plus 4 is 20. So I have another inch to go with the top, which is near perfect. Okay then, now I have these matching leg assemblies. Everything looks good. There is one little thing I need to do. I need more desk space, build space. These will go to the bottom because they're round to the bit from the CNC. Now I could sit here and chisel these out, or I could just real quickly round them over with a round the plywood over, which is going to be a whole lot easier with a sander. And now I may have to do it a little more, but it should fit right in there. And it does. And I'll just do the other one. So here I lay out all the screw and drill and screw and drill holes where I'm going to drill, mostly because I want to lay out where I hit the plywood where it's going to be inset. I want to get a good grip, but I don't want it too close to an edge, blah, blah, blah. So I put some glue on all the mating surfaces and clamp it down. I'm clamping it down so it don't move while I drill and screw the first screw or two together. And once I get the first screw in, I'll take the clamps off because it won't move after that point. So I get the first couple of screws in, take the clamps off, and add a little more glue around the plywood, set the plywood in, and drill and screw to hold the plywood in place. And at this point, my camera battery died. So I got a little ahead of myself. I forgot to turn the camera on. And, but I can show you what I did. I basically decided on a width because I had this piece of plywood left over. And I wanted to go in between here, like so. And then there's going to be another piece of plywood on top. So that decided my final width. So what I've decided to do is I got some more 2x4, I machined it down, then I notched it on the table saw so it'll fit down between the two pieces of plywood and notch into the legs a little bit, giving a little extra strength. I'm basically going to pocket hole it into the corner here and give it a little extra strength and rigidity. So I apply some runny glue. I don't know why it was runny. I guess it froze. I don't know. Anyways, I tack down a few corners, check to make sure everything's laying out square, and then I go back and I back screw the last of the screws in. So with another scrap piece of plywood, which you can see has got junk all over one end of it, but I think I can get a long enough piece out of it. I square up one end and then I cut the other end to length. Now I take the two pieces of plywood I'm going to use for the top. As you can see, I'm going to inset one inside. I check them for fit and then I go and sand the crap out of them. Do have to clean up the belt every once in a while, especially with the crap that was on these scrappy pieces of plywood. But yeah, sanding. We love sanding. Not. So after sanding it all down good, I apply some glue to the whole face of the upper one. This way when I clamp them together, they'll glue together. I pre-drill and I screw just one side off. Now I'm doing this because, again, this is all scraps. So I clamp the lower scrap to the upper scrap and screw it off. And then I clamp everything up. And the reason I'm doing this is because, again, this is, scrap. So it keeps everything square and, gets rid of any bows. And screw it all off. And then I actually add a couple into the top face just to hold the two boards together, basically making them one. And when I'm done with that, I go over the whole stand, which is pretty much done, with a quick sanding just to cut any edges back. So yeah, the stand's pretty much built now. All I gotta do is mount some wheels. So I measure them out, mark them out, and pre-drill and bolt them down. So now the stand's all built. I bring it over and set it next to the old, oh my god, just looking at that is depressing. That thing is terrible. Anyway, I put the new one next to the old one, even though I have it backwards, and unbolt the saw from the old stand. and take a few measurements and lay out where I'm going to drill the mounting holes. And then I drill it out. And to finalize a little bit of cleanup, we're ready to move the new saw over. Don't want to lift on the table. You don't want to lift on the motor. I think I do. You haven't gathered. And let's not lose it. So yeah, she's heavy, and after a few precarious positions where I thought I was going to lose it, I did get it over there and lined it up and bolted her down. So there you have it. It's now on a roly-poly stand, and it feels much more secure. And I can roll it around wherever I need it. I can tuck it away, get it out of the way, which I couldn't do before. Lock it down. And really, only two wheels need to be locked to hold it in place. But yeah, that's 100 times better than it was. Because I can actually get it out of the way now. And actually I can leave it right here and work it. Kind of like it right there. And this contraption, I will probably take apart and reuse for something else, because there's still some solid pieces here. I can use it for another temporary container boxy thing somewhere. So yeah, I got a nice new stand, and it's pretty stable now. I like it. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than what it was on. And considering all but the actual wheels are just scrap material, some scrap 2x, some scrap plywood. I could put drawers in it now. I think it's strong enough, it's not flimsy like it used to be, but there's nothing I'm worried about this thing collapsing anymore. Where that I was. That was not safe. That was not good. This is definitely better and stiffer and nicer in every way, shape, or form. So yeah, there you have it. The Hodge Podge, I love Hodge Podge, that word fits pretty much everything I do. The Hodge Podge Bandsaw Mobile Stand, which I will probably put drawers in eventually.